What's going on YouTube? So in this video I'm going to be teaching you guys how to change the brake pads from your 350Z. Now real quick, I was gonna start doing this last night, so I already got one of my brakes done. I got to the other side, and then the guide pins for my, the caliper that sits on the housing ended up messing up, so I stopped, went to go get it, got back home. I was really tired, so I figured, you know, I'll just put it off, do it tomorrow, and that way I can record. It was extremely dark yesterday, so it works out better for today, right? But yeah, so like I said, we're gonna change the brakes on the Z. I'm only gonna show you guys how to do the driver's side, just because the other side is the exact same thing, but I'm changing all four. Now, I'm running Hawk pads, they're HPS pads, which is like their street pad. It's the more street friendlier one of the two. The HP Pluses I've never ran before, but I've heard good things. Now the HPSs, I like them. They lasted me, been on the car for like three years maybe, something like that. And you know, I've done events on them, gone to 2 drift events in this car, a lot of canyon runs. You know, I've gone about 160 in this car and stopped, no problem. It was sketchy. But yeah, well, like maybe like 150, but still I was going fast, right? So I'm running Akibono pads in the front. The Akibono ones are like just their street pads as well. But yeah, it's time. One of the rears is starting to make noise. I figured, why not? I'll just change all 4. I usually just change all 4 at the same time. And I leave like the old pads just laying around in case I ever need them for like an emergency or something. Usually don't, but it doesn't hurt, right? So I went to O'Reilly's and bought rotors, thinking that I was gonna need rotors, but turns out my rotors are fine. I actually replaced all 4 of them the last time I changed the brakes on this car. So like I said, you know, they're still good. I was checking them last night. Everything seems fine on the rotors. But yeah, so I did one side, and then I came to the other side, to the driver's side in the rear, and these little bolts, one of them was messed up, so I decided, you know, put it off. Oh, cool. Supra just passed by. He didn't look this way, kind of bummed out. One of these broke, so I went and got 2 of them just to make sure that, well, it's not broken, it's like stuck, but I'm gonna heat it up with my blowtorch and take it out, and bought new ones to put in. But yeah, so I'm gonna start raising the car up, and then we're gonna start in the rear and then move to the front. Also, just keep in mind, it's really windy right now. It's actually windy season now, so it's extremely annoying. But yeah, I apologize if there's like excessive wind noise. You know, I have the dead cat, but it doesn't do much. So yeah, let's get to it. Thanks again, guys. So my Amazon Basics tripod thing just broke. You guys are gonna be sitting on the Sylvia watching me work on the Z now. The non-sports model, or the Nismo model of the Z, they don't have Brembos. I believe the Track Edition also has Brembos. But this is a touring, so no Brembos. So the back has an extremely small brake pad, right? You want to throw them on. Usually it's good to put a little bit of grease on the backside before. Nice thing is Hawk provides grease, so you don't have to worry about buying stuff. And they usually include a sticker in the box as well, so big ups to them. But yeah, so one of the things that I forgot to mention, and this was this entire thing was my fault, right? So I bought the brakes from Sam at Njuku Racing. Thanks again, Sam, if you're watching. You know, Njuku's been the people that I usually go to buy a lot of my stuff. Like I said, Sam usually takes care of me, so I'm always happy. Now I bought these, and I used to buy a lot of stuff and have it shipped to my old office at work, right? Now I forgot to tell Sam that I no longer work there, so he shipped out the pads, and they went to Calabasas. So I had to call up one of my friends, Victor. You guys saw him in the last video, the haircut video, and he was kind enough to bring him to me. So he still works out there, so he brought him over back to Palmdale and gave him to me. So I was extremely happy. Like I said, not Njuku's fault at all. It was totally my fault. I completely just forgot to tell him. I've been buying from them for, I don't know, maybe like 6 years now, maybe. Yeah, something like that. And most parts they've been able to get for me. There's a couple things that they can't, but it's usually stuff that's really hard to find anyways. But yeah, they've been helpful. Highly recommend them if you guys need parts. Went with the HPS's. They don't make any noise at all. They do dust a little, especially more towards the end of their life, but I'm happy with them. The dust doesn't really bother me. Yeah, you could just spray your wheels and wash them. But yeah, let's get going. All right, so literally one finger, right? No force at all. This side, like Hulk strength, look at that. Not turning at all. So something's definitely wrong on this side. I'm gonna keep chipping away at this one, and then I'll show you guys once I get it off. Alright, so that little piece that I just showed you guys where I'm, heating it up, be extremely careful. You don't want your car catching on fire. You don't want anything catching on fire. It's not the first time I've used a blowtorch, so I'm pretty confident in my skill, but if you guys are going to try this, be very careful. I'm not going to be responsible if you guys burn your car down or whatever, right? Anyway, so I'm heating it up. It's still a little difficult to get out, but it's moving, which is good. So definitely making progress. As soon as I get that one bolt out, we're good. The other side, perfectly fine, butter. As soon as I knocked it out, it just slid out. It's so much easier. But this side, it's what's giving me problems. So I'm going to continue trying, heating it up and whatnot, and tugging on it until it comes out. So hopefully it gets out. Thank you. I'm just gonna leave the caliper hanging right here, the support bracket for it. Have it sitting in some oil. I'm gonna try to pull the rest of that bolt out tomorrow. I'm not gonna lie, I'm like extremely tired right now. My back is starting to hurt, and then I've been sitting out here for like 4 hours trying to take that stupid bolt off. If we can take the bolt out, then I'm just gonna reuse that bracket. If not, then I'm just gonna go to O'Reilly's tomorrow and pick up another one. I think they're like $30. I mean, I wanted to finish this right now, so I'm kind of bummed out. I'm extremely tired. Like I said, at this point, I kind of just want to go to sleep. It's the next day. It's November 4th, my birthday. So today is kind of a bust. I'm kind of bummed out. So originally, I was planning on going to the Vertex event. I figured, I'd get there early in the morning, hang out for a little bit, right, and kind of get footage and ride along and whatnot, the usual drift event stuff. And then I was gonna try to go down to 7 Stock. 7 Stock is also today, but I ended up not being able to do either just because of my brakes. Couldn't take out that bolt, so I ended up just grinding it off, as you guys saw. So what I did is I ordered another one. It was like 30 bucks. It just came in right now. Hopefully this goes a little bit better today. I saw my dad on the way to O'Reilly's, so we swapped trucks. I forgot the GoPro in the little truck, so I didn't record anything going that way. Now I'm back at the house. The new bracket for the caliper ended up being 40 bucks. It's like $5 core charge, I believe. So I gotta go back and take my old one, and here's the new one. So let me set you guys up real quick. I decided I'm not gonna do the fronts today just because I want to, you know, I'm gonna go eat sushi with my family and then we're gonna go watch Thor. And to do that plus this, it's gonna take me a little bit. So I'd rather just leave the fronts for tomorrow. It's still gonna be one video though. So like, you know, I'm just gonna do a time skip thing. But anyways, so here you guys can see where we cut off the bowl. And here's the new one. So normally these just slide out, but from how hard I was like tugging on it, got bent. I mean, besides that, it looks fine. But yeah, I couldn't take it out even after leaving it overnight with some WD-40. I decided, you know, it'd be easier to just go and get the other one instead, not have so much downtime. Cameraception. Ooh. All right, so if you guys want to take off the brake rotor, all you have to do is take off anything holding down on the lugs, right? So right now I have a spacer on. So if I were to take off this spacer, make sure you disengage your parking brake as well. The rotor will just slide off. So those of you that need to change the rotors as well, that's all you have to do. So make sure you take off the caliper, you take off anything over here. If you have spacers, take them off, right? Disengage parking brake and it'll just slide off, and you just slide the new one on, and that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna switch you guys back to the DSLR. But yeah, so that's how you change the rotors. Real simple task. So don't be discouraged if you have to do any of this. I'm literally doing this with just the toolbox. I do most of my work with this toolbox. You know, I've done engine swaps with this thing. You know, if you don't have like a giant snap-on toolbox that costs more than your house, it doesn't matter. Like I spent, I don't know, probably like $100 on this thing on Black Friday about 2 years ago maybe. And before that, I used an even smaller toolbox that belonged to my dad. So yeah, you don't have to have like all the fanciest gadgets and whatnot. You know, just make sure you have enough tools to get you by. But yeah, I'm gonna set up the brakes real quick and show you guys what's up. Alright, so this bolt right here is a 19 socket, so I'm using a short impact socket. You just tighten it up. I don't remember the actual torque specs to this. I'll have to check, but my torque wrench doesn't fit in here. It actually hits the wheel well. So what I usually do is when I'm, you know, tightening it, I'll grab my hammer, the same one I was using, you know, when I take stuff off, just put it on and, you know, whack the ratchet a couple times, and it'll tighten this up. And I just make sure I tighten both at like the exact same time, that way I know it's centered. Alright, so that's where it's stopping. I'm not gonna force it, you know, just a couple whacks. So that's done. The hardware goes, I want to say it's like this. So I'm hoping you guys can see this, because if not, I feel like an idiot just talking to myself, not being able to show you guys. But yeah, hardware just slides on. Alright, so I'm pretty sure I mentioned it, but Hawk includes some brake grease if you guys need some. It comes with the pads, right? Every single box has a little bit of grease in it. They also throw in these little stickers, so thanks to you guys, I really appreciate these. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna put a little bit of grease on the back, right? So when the piston's hitting it, it's not chattering all over the place. You're not sitting there wondering why your brakes are squealing. So I usually throw them on like that and then kind of just spread them out, right? So there we go. Remember, this side goes on where the piston is, the one with the little indicator. So where is it at? There we go. Alright, so that side's on. Now to put on the side without a piston. Remember, non-Brembo brakes. So it's only a single piston in the rear. Would love some Brembos, but can't afford them right now. But I'm hoping I can later. You know, either like some Brembos or some Stop Techs or something would be nice. Just because this car, the brakes do get extremely hot whenever, you know, I'm driving through the canyons or whatever. I do get on it, and braking is crucial going through there. So you don't want to go through canyon road and then find out you don't have brakes. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that. Sketchiest thing ever. But yep. Alright, so now I got to push the piston back in for the caliper. So I use one of these things. I forget the name of it, but yeah, it has like the little button, slide it in, like whee. Anyways, I don't know if you guys can see that. So I'll try to put you guys on my leg. So there we go, and then you start tightening. And you want it to be flush, right? If it's sticking out even just a little bit, it might not go back in. I've had this happen to me with my S14 before. Or, no, not S14, my S13. So just make sure it's flush, and then you're ready to pull out. She said. When I was trying to take off the caliper yesterday, I ended up messing these up, so I picked them up. Those little dust boots that you put on. And then you just kind of squeeze them on. There's one. I bought new guide pins, or guide bolts. So this is essentially what I broke yesterday. See that? Much better. New bracket, new bolts. Should be good now. So we're gonna slide the caliper back on. Make sure you line up the dust boot correctly. Alright, so much better. Bottom ones are good, so now we're good to go. Good now, so I'm gonna finish up here and then we'll continue tomorrow. Alright guys, so now there's sunlight. It's gonna be much better that I can do the fronts now and you guys will be able to see without all the noise and stuff. So the fronts are pretty much exactly the same as the rears. The same thing, if I remember correctly, I want to say you only need the same tools that you used in the rear. So a 14 to take off the caliper, it's exact same process. You know, it's just that it's the front and not the rear, right? But literally exact same thing. One thing I'll mention is make sure you break your lug nuts before raising the car. If you're by yourself, once you raise the car, the wheel will just spin. So if you're trying to put force and break the lug nut, it's not going to come off, right? So do it before you raise the car. Really simple. But yeah, if you're not alone, then just have someone step on the brakes. It's the same thing, right? But yeah, so I'm gonna start doing the fronts and it'll be over pretty quickly. One thing I want to say is I apologize for taking so long to do the rear. You know, I definitely wasn't expecting for that guide pin to break like that, to seize on. So that definitely set me back. But it is something that can happen, so keep that in mind. You know, you guys pretty much saw like one of the worst case scenarios for me. That's never happened to me before, by the way, but you know, this time unfortunately that did happen. But now hopefully that doesn't happen with the fronts. But yeah, let's get to it. Both are moving with my fingers, so that's a good sign that these aren't seized or anything like that. It's really good. Alright, one's off. Second one is off, so we're good. We are good. Alright. So the piston for this one's much larger. It's still a single piston in the front. The brake pads are much larger as well. I'm looking at the pads, they still got life. Not bad. Gotta find a spot to put this thing. You don't want it messing up the speed sensor either. So hopefully it stays right there. Sweet. Alright. So where was I? And here's the other one. So they still got a good amount of life left on them. You know, that don't have to take them off yet, but I prefer to do it if I'm doing, you know, the rears. I'd rather just do all four, make sure they're all good, right? But yeah, these Aki Bonos are holding up pretty well. Throw on the brake grease. I have more grease inside, so I usually put a bunch on it anyways. You don't want your brakes to squeal. Just that side. Can't really see all that well. So, just like that. Then I just start tightening. Slowly start pushing the piston back in. It's just these two bolts. They're both 14s. You slide them off the caliper, and then that leaves the bracket. You have your hardware. Just a quick recap, right? When you put in new pads, make sure you push the piston in. It'll push fluid back into the master, so keep that in mind. If your rotor isn't letting you sit the pad on, then like I said before, just put some lug nuts back on. It'll hold the rotor in place. If you guys do need to take the rotor off for whatever reason, you know, you got to replace it. It's really simple. You just take this bracket off. Same thing as the rear. You take the bracket off, make sure there's nothing holding the rotor down, and it'll slide right off. This side doesn't have shoes, so there's no reason that it should be held on by anything. So, you know, just make sure once you take the caliper off, it'll slide right out, okay? So that's pretty much it. Alright guys, so I'm done with the fronts. It was super easy like I showed you guys. So remember, all you really need is just that 14, take off the caliper. You know, make sure you check your hardware, all that stuff. Make sure you check your rotors. Make sure your brakes are good, and you'll be good. I just want to say thanks again, guys. You know, if you guys like the video, smash that like button. If you guys could subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. You know, say what's up down in the comments. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And that's where I'm going to wrap up this video. So thanks again, guys, for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.